Hey, my friend, are you a small business owner that loves God, family, country, and capitalism? Today, we're going to spend a few minutes. I'm going to teach you how to diagnose problems in your business so you can make more money. We're going to go a little bit slow. I'm going to teach you some basic principles. And this is a process and a framework that I use when I'm working with companies from all over the world. It's a very simple thing. I want you to apply it to yourself to get more clarity. Sometimes when we're running our companies, we get so far in the weeds that we get numb to our own situation. And tell me if you think this is true for you. I know it is for me. I think my IQ drops by about 100 points whenever I'm working on my own company. And it's because you're so close to it and there's so many moving pieces and you're in it and you're up to your neck in to-dos and ringing phones and stimulus and you're overstimulated. But let's zoom out for just 10 minutes or so and figure out how to diagnose the biggest bottleneck in your business so you can make more money. So as you can see here on my iPad, we have several different things going on. This is actually an explanation of how pretty much every company in the world operates. Maybe you just never thought of it this way, but your business uses these 5 pieces, and that's how you make money. The first one, of course, as you can see, is lead generation. Lead generation is how you get someone to raise their hand and be like, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Curious. You clean a house? Cool. Oh, you're an attorney? Oh, yeah, I might need that in the future. And then, of course, we have lead nurture. And I'm going to break these down step by step and go a little deeper, but we'll do an overview first. But lead nurture, depending on what kind of company you have, can be all over the place. If you sell hot dogs, there's not really a lead nurture component to your business. Someone's hungry, they're in a rush, they see your hot dog, they buy it or they don't buy it. That's kind of all that happens. But if you sell a mortgage, for example, maybe there's like a 45-day nurture cycle before that deal closes. So it's a little bit different for everyone, but that is the second phase of something that could be broken in your company. The third one is conversion in sales. Which is self-explanatory. It's when someone gives you money for the thing that you sell. And then we have delivery. And then last but not least, we have resell, upsell, cross-sell, and ascend. And these are 3 different things or 4 different things. I'm going to explain it, break it down to you so you can make more money. It's going to be awesome. Now, let me just start out by saying that most small companies, if you're doing less than a couple million or less than $1 million, definitely, you're probably pretty good at these 2 pieces. And this is where most small local companies kind of stay forever. They get stuck because they're bad at the other 3. They're good at these 2. They know how to sell their stuff, and they certainly know how to deliver on their stuff. Let me ask you, are you technically competent at whatever it is that you sell? The answer is probably yes. If you dig ditches, are you the best ditch digger there is? If you build retaining walls, are you really nerdy about the right bolts in the refractor inverted plate valve that goes in the retaining wall? I bet you are. I bet you know all about these nuances. That's delivery. That's the thing that's for sale, the service that you provide. Most little artisan companies are really good at the thing that they do, and they're good at selling, or they're okay at selling, but they forget about all these other pieces. If you want to build a multi-million-dollar automated business that kicks off cash flow for you and becomes an actual asset that you could sell, then you got to understand the full picture here. So let's start with lead generation. Lead generation is probably one of the weakest parts to a small business because they're very quiet. They're not noisy enough. Inside my Atomic Marketing Playbook, I kind of break down the 3 things you need when it comes to marketing and making more money to be successful. And the first one is noise. So lead generation really is noise. How do you get people to raise their hand and be like, hey, you seem like a cool guy. I'm a cool guy. I need your stuff. You have the stuff that I need. I'm going to click on your website. I'm going to fill out a contact request. I'm going to ask for an estimate. That's your lead generation. And because really good people are the quietest, what ends up happening is the best marketed companies win, not the best companies. This is visible everywhere. If you ask yourself, look at like a Stanley Steamer as an example I like to use. I like to pick on Stanley Steamer. I have nothing against Stanley Steamer. I think they're brilliant. I think they're geniuses, and they built this gigantic company. But people in the carpet cleaning space love to make fun of Stanley Steamer, because, maybe the quality is low in their opinion, or they just have bad training, or their marketing might feel deceptive. But the truth is the guy that built Stanley Steamer, I don't know who he is, I don't know what his name is, but he's really rich, and he has a gigantic company and a big asset because he knows how to generate a lead. And that's what happens when good people are too quiet and you market like a mouse. So we have to make more noise. People need to know you exist. And there's 2 types of noise making primarily. There's proactive marketing, And then there's reactive marketing. Now, proactive marketing is when you are doing something, I'll just write down proactive, when you're doing something where you can control the quantity of deal flow that flows to you, where you can control the amount of people that raise their hand. I'll give you an example. If you were passing out door hangers, just walking through neighborhoods and passing out door hangers, and let's say that for every 100 door hangers you passed out, you got 2 phone calls, okay, which would be really, really good. If that happened, you now have a scalable, proactive marketing or lead generation system because you have the math on it. It's relatively predictable. If you wanted to get 200 people, well, then we instead of doing 100 flyers, we do, 100 more than that, right? So we do like 1,000 flyer, or what would the number be? 10,000 would equal 200, right? And that is proactive because if I need to get 36 brand new shiny customers, I know how many door hangers to do to get it. The other type of noise is reactive marketing. Reactive is still good, but it's not the same thing as proactive. Reactive is something like Google, for example, Google Ads, Google organic search. These are all really awesome. Your website should be optimized for this stuff, but you can't control the quantity of the deal flow that comes to you. Does that make sense? You picking up what I'm throwing down? And what I mean is if there's 17 people per month in your town that type in carpet cleaners in my town, USA, if there's 17 people searching that, I can't make that 34 people searching that. I can't make it 77 people searching that. I can't make it be more. That's why we call it reactive. I certainly want you to get all those deals. That's awesome. But the way to scale really big is to build a lever, a proactive marketing system, a lever. And that's what lead generation is all about. And it's a deep topic. And maybe in some of these other videos, for sure, I'm going to go deeper on marketing, how to be noisy, how to create the right bait, how to fish in the right pond, how to use hooks and trend jacking and all kinds of things. There's so much epicness I want to share with you on this channel. But ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how proficient are you at generating a lead in general? And then, of course, number 2, if we scroll down a little bit, is lead nurture. Now, if you have a service company, there's probably a nurture process to some extent. Or if you get 10 people that are initially interested in your stuff, maybe you sell 5 of them, but then we don't follow up and nurture the other 5. And if your business is doing $500,000 a year and you just build an airtight, robust follow-up nurture system, you might be able to double your business just through that. In some cases, that would be the case. It's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars at least without even spending more money. It's just using your brain and your creativity through text messages and emails and phone calls and letters and having a system to nurture, build a relationship with people. Maybe it takes 7 steps as my example here. Maybe you have your initial inquiry, but then there's all these other touch points. Do you have something like this for your business? If you don't, you're just losing money for no reason. I always tell people you make a lot more money with your brain than you ever will with your back. This is brain money. Having a lead nurture system is brain money. It's boring to build it. It's not particularly sexy, but when it's installed and it's autopiloted and automated, it's going to just make more money for you over time. Like, how valuable over the next 3 to 5 years could this be for you? For some of you, it's a 7-figure system that might be missing from your company. Or you have a nurture sequence, but it's boring. No one opens your emails. They don't engage. They don't reply back because you don't understand the asymmetrical strategy you need to make it feel human and all these things. But ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how proficient are you at nurture? When it comes to sales, you're kind of like not in business in the first place if you can't sell. So I know all of you watching that have a company, you can sell at least a little bit. The problem is you don't sell enough. You don't sell for high enough prices. You don't have high enough ticket things for sale. And maybe your close rate's bad. Maybe you don't know how to overcome objections. Maybe you get a little gun shy when you feel like you have to maybe really ask for the business and close the sale. And maybe that's hurting you. It probably is. If you look at the biggest companies, the Stanley Steamers and all these big companies in any industry, if you go back in time to the founder when they first started, almost always you'll discover that the founder was exceptional and extraordinary at the skill, the learnable skill of selling. They are salesmen. They have showmen, right? So ask yourself, what can be done to increase your average ticket, to sell a higher rate of your stuff at higher prices than previously done before? Like, what would that look like for you? Is there room for improvement? I'm sure that there is, because all of us have room for improvement, but ask yourself, what's my process like? Is there any actual choreography in the way that I go get this money right here? Is there any choreography at all? Like the way my truck looks when I pull up to do the estimate is a thing. It's a factor. It's a small piece of a greater whole. The way that you engage with the customer, the way you build trust, the way that you show before and after pictures, the way that you anchor them to a higher price and then discount it down to the right now deal of a lifetime. This is choreography. It takes creativity. It's a mixture of art and a mixture of science. It's both of the things mixed together. If there's one skill you want to get really good at so you'll never go hungry the rest of your life, it's this one. And most small companies can do it at a basic acceptable level, and that's it. We got to go deeper on it. So ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad to the bone ninja are you at selling your stuff? And not just selling it for rock bottom, you're in poverty prices, but selling it and pushing the boundaries on what's possible. And do you have the kahunas and the grapes required to ask for higher tickets, to create a new package that's even more expensive? Anyway, rate yourself on that. And then, of course, we have delivery. Most small business owners don't have too big of an issue with this. This is when you deliver the stuff that the people bought. If you're a restaurant, it's when the food gets plated and brought to the table. That's the delivery of what was sold, right? So in your case, how do you do the delivery part? Do you exceed expectations and wow and delight your customers? Is there little things you could do, bonuses you could throw in that make the customer feel special so then your referrals and your repeat business goes up, the amount of reviews you get goes up? You want to look at all this stuff almost as if you're a choir director. And so these 5 pieces, which I'll scroll back to the top here, these 5 pieces are like people in your choir that can sing with different, I don't know, what's it called, alto, baritone, and we want it to all work in harmony so that you can extract maximum money, because at the end of the day, the reason you're in business is to make a profit. Some people don't like it when I say that, but that's the definition of the purpose of a business. If you're running a public company, you have a fiduciary responsibility to make a profit for your shareholders. When you run a small business, you have a fiduciary responsibility to your family to make a profit. Profit's not bad, it's good. My friend Mike Dahlke calls dollars certificates of good deeds, because the more profit you make, it's more evidence of the positive impact you've had on the world. But this is how you make all the money, is understanding these 5 pieces. So let's go back down to delivery, okay? Maybe you clean windows or you clean carpet or you're an attorney. When you're delivering the thing, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 at how extraordinary you are at the delivery. Because it's not just giving what you promised, it's also setting the table for what happens next, which is the resells, the upsells, the cross-sells, the referrals, the reviews, the social proof, the momentum to get people talking about you, right? Everything gets easier if you wow and delight people during your delivery. And then last but certainly not least is a resell, upsell, cross-sell. You know, there's a lot of companies if I were to purchase them, I could double their revenue in short order only by understanding a couple of the principles we just talked about and using a telephone. You know, when you're marketing like a mouse and you don't talk to your customers ever, except when you're trying to get money from them, that sets a kind of a bad taste in their mouth. But a lot of y'all have customers you don't even try to resell your stuff to, or you don't push hard enough. Now, you don't want to be this annoying pest, but you need to push a lot harder than you already are in almost all cases. And let's discuss the difference between a resell, an upsell, and a cross-sell, and then we'll talk about ascension. There we go. So here's the deal. Reselling, it's when you sell them the same thing they already bought before. If you have a cleaning or a service company or something that happens on a reoccurring timeline, a super simple thing that should be happening is you need to book their next appointment at the end of their first appointment. If you're a hairdresser, for example, you should be booking my next hair appointment as soon as I'm paying you at this appointment. It locks it in. It collapses time on how often I give you money. Reselling has to do with frequency. If your average customer, if you have 1,000 customers that pay you $1,000 a year, that's $1 million in revenue. What if we could get the average customer to buy 1.25 times per year? If we could do that through a simple strategy using our brain, not our back, you would create $250,000 in free money out of thin air, literally just by understanding this concept. That's pretty epic, right? Are you with me? And then we have upsell. Upselling is different than reselling. Upselling is when someone orders a fry and you upsize it to a large fry. Upselling is when they order the carpet cleaning for their living room and you upsell it to be the whole house. Upselling is a system. It's a choreographed strategy that you deploy in your business. So you gotta look at what you're doing now and figure out what little touch points and opportunities can I up level that on average over a big enough time horizon will give me a lot more money. And then cross-selling is when you sell them an entirely different thing that might be related in terms of category, but it's a different thing. So if I hire you for my retaining wall, and maybe that's the extent of our relationship, but maybe your company can also do in-ground pools, for example. A cross-sell would be having a strategy and a system and a choreographed method to take all the 100 retaining wall customers and to get 12 of them to spend $200K on a pool. Because the economics of the business would fundamentally change if this was installed and you focused on it. Hopefully that makes sense. And really at the end of the day, this last fifth step that most small business owners miss, it's all about ascension. The question isn't how do I make my advertising cheaper? The question is not how do I save more money? The question is how do you make your customers worth more money to you? How do you increase the lifetime value of a brand new shiny customer? Right now it might be $500 a year. What if it was $2,500 a year? You see, when you think like this, you start asking different questions. Most small companies are trying to cut their way to success, and that's a recipe for disaster. Think about this. If you're an employee for a big mega corporation and you go into your office on Monday and they start charging the employees 10 cents to use a coffee cup, do you think that's a good sign that the company's doing okay? You think that's a good sign, or is that bad? It's bad. It's really bad. We don't want to do that. Being prudent is reasonable. There's wisdom in being careful with your money and not buying things you don't need. Fair enough. But you don't cut your way to scaling a business. You don't. In fact, Dan Kennedy says, whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. I should say that again for the people in the back. Whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. If we're competing head to head, and we're both the retaining wall company, and I also can upsell $200,000 pools, and you can't, I have a massive advantage to you, right? Because you might be able to spend $1,000 on marketing to get a $10,000 retaining wall client. I might be able to spend $5,000 on marketing to get the same client as you, which means my ads are everywhere. The quality of the videos I make is better and up-leveled, right? Because I understand ascension. In the internet marketing world, they call it a value ladder. And the question becomes, what does your system look like? What does your value ladder look like? If this is the big money at the top of the ladder down here, and this is your foot in the door offer down here where you start your relationship, what systems, processes, and strategies do you have in place to ascend people, to make them worth more money so you can make more profit, so you can take your kids to Disneyland in an airplane? Okay, that's an inside joke for people that know. But let's recap. Number 1, lead generation. Number 2, lead nurture. Number 3, conversion or sales. And then you have delivery, and then you have resell, upsell, cross-sell, and ascend. I hope this is helpful to you. This is a kind of a new way. I'm going to make some YouTube videos just to add value. We're calling it the War Plan Tactical, where I'll go a little bit slower, not fire hose out 1,000 things on you. And hopefully this makes sense. If it does, if it's helpful and valuable to you, please like, subscribe, hit the bell on the video, and also comment. Commenting is really important. I'm not a YouTube expert guy. We have like 12 followers, right? But what is important is that I get feedback from you on where you're stuck, what you're thinking about, where you have questions, because it helps me generate ideas on what to teach and help. Look, I've built and sold 4 companies in 3 different industries, and I have a lot of experience in this. I've helped over 100 people become millionaires with local businesses by following principles like this. So if it's valuable to you, share it with a friend, give it a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you watched, click the video on the left to watch the previous upload. And if you want one of my personal favorites, click the video on the right. And of course, don't forget to hit the middle to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thank you again for being on this journey with me.